My father recently married a girl named Amanda, his former student. She was all decked out in expensive fur coats, silks, leather knots, stilettos, and scarlet lipstick. Her elegance and charm were undeniable, and she held herself with such confidence that she was hard to miss. I was very happy for my father, because to have such a woman at his advanced age was an achievement. I even envied him a little, because my wife, Michael, is wonderful, but Amanda was something else entirely. She had a magnetic presence that seemed to draw people in, and I felt both impressed and a little awkward in her company. The more time passed, the more often I began to visit my father and Amanda. She would spend time with me, and we would have nice conversations. Amanda had a knack for making you feel like you were the center of her attention, and our conversations often made me feel strangely uplifted. My mother, Elaine, completely ignored my father and his new wife. Apparently, she was still jealous, even though Amanda showed up 2 years after their divorce. Elaine had always been a proud woman, and I think the fact that my father had broken up so easily with someone much younger really hurt her. I also visited my mom, but much less often. It was obvious that she was still trying to come to terms with everything that had happened, and her bitterness was palpable during our brief visits. One day, my father asked me to fix the faucet in their apartment, as his hands were not what they used to be. When I arrived, Amanda met me dressed in a lace apron and a short black dress. I was surprised, but I didn't show it. The way she was dressed felt deliberate, as if she wanted me to pay attention. We walked to the kitchen, where my father said I was supposed to fiddle with the faucet for a couple minutes. Of course, it didn't turn out to be that easy. Amanda brought me my dad's tools, and I dove headfirst into the job. I had to replace the entire gasket and disassemble the entire faucet structure. I decided to replace it completely, just in case, and bought a new one ahead of time. The job took longer than I expected, and Amanda stayed close by and watched me the whole time. Afterward, Amanda opened a bottle of wine, and I started on the food. She didn't eat, just held the wine glass, watching me. There was something intense in her gaze that made me feel uncomfortable. I admit, I felt like a rabbit in front of a boa constrictor. She asked if anyone was waiting for me at home. I hesitated to answer, feeling the weight of her question. I got up from the table and stood behind her back. I stopped eating, and her hands moved to my shoulders, massaging them. Her touch was both gentle and firm, and I couldn't help but feel a mixture of anxiety and desire. I asked what she was doing, and she giggled playfully, answering vaguely, "You're very tense. You need to relax." Her hands moved lower, running their hands over my ribs. I turned to her again with a question. "What are you doing?" At the mute question, she laughed again, and in one motion, she sat Amanda on her lap, wrapped her arms around my neck, and began to kiss me shamelessly. Before I knew it, her nimble fingers were undoing the buttons of my shirt. There was a sense of inevitability to what was happening, as if we'd both tacitly agreed to cross that line long before today. "Surrendering," I responded, turned her around to the table, and we continued our session, completely caught up in the adrenaline and thrill of the moment. We finished just before my father returned, leaving us both breathless and flushed. I quickly tried to pull myself together, adjusting my clothes and pretending nothing had happened, while Amanda adjusted her dress and smiled slyly at me. The whole situation felt surreal, and when my father walked in, I couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt mixed with the lingering excitement of what had just happened.